But first, please welcome NATPE President and CEO, Rick Feldman.
Good morning, everyone. Before we begin, I want to remind you that at the end of my portion, we're going to be drawing a business card out for a 42-inch LG HD TV. So if you haven't put your card in the bowl yet, you may want to do that. We'll be drawing that out in about 5 minutes. Okay? So good morning and welcome to NATPE number 46. Content, Commerce, Connections. It's our message and we're sticking to it by once again, despite tough times, delivering to you an informed, relevant, and forward-thinking market. The only U.S. event, in fact, built around the monetization of worldwide professional video content, connecting producers, distributors, and advertisers. NATPE 09 aims to celebrate the culture of creativity that is the basis for a business that was supported by ad spending of $60 billion in 2008. For sure, our business, now even hard to define, is at a crossroads. We've moved from a world of control to one of choice, basically trying to organize anarchy and get paid for it. Technology has forced all of us to reconsider the way we think about our business and will force programmers to change how programs are produced. Programmers and advertisers are adapting to a world of engagement rather than disruption. And brands want to engage with the customer directly, and program services want customers, not just viewers. But in this multi-channel revolution of choice over control, it must be remembered that what comes first is the idea, followed by the context. In other words, a story worth telling and well told, whether scripted or unscripted, is first and foremost. So let's find the next generation of stories, execute them, and find the proper platforms. And once that's done, reaggregating audiences in forms conducive to monetization is next. Audiences will view on small screens and large, in home and out, and in one way or another need to pay for that privilege. Big changes are on the horizon as the switch to digital happens in a couple of months. And where that leads, no one knows. We do know, however, that video is the preeminent media format to make an impression on the consumer. Nothing packs the same emotional punch as video, and that's why brands have always been drawn to TV advertising. Now, online video is seen to some as a challenge to the legacy businesses, but already it's begun to become a bright spot for many established content providers whose transitional businesses are under pressure, and it opens up new opportunities for new ad-supported entrants. Our TV business will not disappear, but it must adapt. It will experience some shakeout and consolidation, but those that remain will evolve and prosper and will continue to need a yearly forum for buying and selling content and ideas. And yes, that would be NATPE. Even 20 years ago, articles in the trades questioned this organization's ability to change with the times. In fact, Lou Klein gave me yesterday, this is from February 22nd, 1988, TV radio age, you all remember it well. NATPE at 25, is this bizarre really necessary? And you go and read the article and it's amazing how many of the challenges we were dealing with back in 1988, 20 years ago, are prevalent today. But we do change. And during my year of conversations with many of you, you reinforce the desire and need for a US-based multi-platform digital distribution marketing conference, which is what NATPE has become. The need to get together, assuming an acceptable ROI, is still very strong. It's a business where face-to-face contact and building relationships still count. So you will find here this week original content provided by the legacy studios and new online studios. You'll find producers from over 60 countries in the world producing for multi-platform exploitation, supported both by advertising and subscription. And you will be informed and enlightened by over 200 speakers chosen because they have something to offer, the willingness to share, and because they understand and appreciate the value and importance of this event. We've added a theater on the floor for digital briefings, We have a series of tech demos featuring new ways for content to reach the consumer and some gadgets you may not have even seen before. In addition, we've improved the C3 lounge on the floor, and we have now a restaurant on the floor for you to go out and make reservations for today and tomorrow, right on the floor. And an afternoon martini bar, hopefully, will enhance the opportunities for networking. Those who did not make it this year will not know what they missed, but perhaps you can tell them. Regardless of how this year shapes up, it is obvious that everyone in this room is under pressure to maximize their time and their money. NATPE intends to serve your needs and continue to create environments that pass the value test. In that regard, here at the Mandalay Bay, the hotel, this week next year, we will be back, and we will provide all exhibitors with the access to suites at the hotel. We will also, though, make other low-cost options available for those in the new media world and others who wish to exhibit in ballroom locations at the Mandalay Bay. We will continue to create new and interesting ways for people to meet and sample new technology, and we will continue to provide a rich conference experience. We will work to create the best environment for all exhibitors, and the changes will enhance buyer productivity. NATPE is a mirror of our business, and we intend to stay relevant and valuable by staying in close touch with you. Also, we hope that in addition to NATPE 09 here today, that Discop Dakar and Budapest following NATPE, and the LA TV Festival in Los Angeles this July will be important dates in your calendar. I'd like to thank our staff and our board, and especially Luke Klein and our co-chairs Roma Khanna and Kevin Beggs. Kevin will continue as chair for 2009, and he will be introducing our keynote this morning, Jon Feltheimer. I hope all of you have a truly valuable and interesting week at NATPE. I look forward to hearing from you when it's over, so we can all work together to discover what the future will bring. So thank you very much, and can we please have the bowl so we can draw out the business card. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to get the bowl. First of all, we will contact this person about sending you the television. And the winner is Annie Crawley from Drive Your Imagination TV. So Annie, wherever you are, okay. Thank you. And I want to thank John Taylor, who's here today from LG for the 42-inch LG TV. We appreciate it. You'll see LG signs and LG monitors everywhere, and obviously we rely on the help of friends and strangers, and so we're glad to have LG in the fold. Just two more notes before I bring on Kevin. I want to remind those of you that are interested about the Mad Men review, that it's tonight at the MGM Hotel at 10:30. It's live, the live Mad Men review. And also about the restaurant on the floor, which we hope you avail yourselves and have a great time. So with no further ado, I want to say thank you for all of you for coming, and I appreciate it. And let's introduce Mr. Kevin Beggs. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Rick, thank you. It's been a great year at NATPE. When selecting our keynote speaker for NATPE, economic storm clouds were on the horizon. We sought a speaker with a breadth of television experience, distinguished by entrepreneurial excellence, who could offer unique insight into the television businesses of 2009 and beyond. Jon Feltheimer, or the Felt, as his friends call him, was our unanimous choice, given his independent roots at New World Television, his 9-year tenure as the head of Sony Pictures Television in the 90s, and his most recent role as CEO and co-chairman of Lionsgate. Throughout Jon's career, as developer, studio president, and corporate CEO, Jon has been associated with terrific series like The Wonder Years, Mad About You, The Nanny, Dawson's Creek, The King of Queens, Weeds, and most recently, Mad Men. In his role as feature film executive, he has green-lighted feature films like 3:10 to Yuma, Crash, Monsters Ball, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and the Saw franchise, among scores of others. Jon has consistently blended creative excellence with profitable business savvy, a combination that is hard to find anywhere these days. Given Jon's track record, when I was first summoned to meet him after he came to Lionsgate, I was pretty intimidated. But the Jon Feltheimer that I met in 1999 looked beyond our Lionsgate television business in its then current state and past my relative inexperience as a television executive. Instead, he imagined what it could be, and he did the same for the entire company. Lionsgate today is a major player in every piece of the film content and distribution business chain and continues to expand amidst an economic downturn. Books may be written about how Jon accomplished this, but I submit to you that the most powerful tool Jon employed at Lionsgate is the strength of his character. Jon has integrity. He is unflinchingly honest and earns the respect of friends and competitors alike. He is fair in life and in deal-making. He reveres the creative process. He encourages dissent. He demands excellence, and he generously recognizes excellence around him. Jon is relentlessly curious. He also loves and honors family and encourages his employees to do the same. Jon has crafted a culture of genuine synergy at the company. Jon takes risks, calculated risks, as he is wont to describe them, but nonetheless risks. Jon hires and acquires brilliantly. He has attracted the best and the brightest to Lionsgate, and he rarely lets them go. And perhaps most importantly, Jon is a dreamer. He also empowers those around him to dream just as big. Those dreams have propelled Jon and Lionsgate to heights unimaginable 8 years ago, and they show no sign of slowing. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jon Feltheimer.
Introduction. I was starting to wonder who he was talking about, but Kevin is great. Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much, Kevin. You know, Kevin is the kind of executive who should make us all feel good about the future of our business. I can always count on him for a good idea, a new strategy, or an innovative approach, any time of the day, but unfortunately for me, any time of the night as well. Any credit he gives me for our television operations, I give right back to him and to his partner, Sandra Stern, who has put up with me for over 20 years. Thank you all very much for being here today, and I'm pleased to see so many of my good friends here in the audience. You've always been my biggest supporters, but you've also been my biggest critics. So if I see any of you starting to take off your shoes, speaking of critics, everywhere you turn, people are talking about how bad things are. Self-appointed experts proclaiming the death of broadcast, the demise of packaged media, and the decline of the box office. They have their charts, bar graphs, and spreadsheets full of stats to support their case. I guess the rationale is that if they say the end is near for long enough, sooner or later, the warnings will finally come true. But let me ask you, can things be so bad when a simple idea for a Disney Channel TV movie, like High School Musical, can become a $2 billion franchise, or an $8 million film shot in the slums of Mumbai can become a runaway hit and an Oscar favorite? And I wonder, can things be so bad when a film like Dark Knight captures the second highest box office gross on record, and then helps usher in a brand new technology by selling 4 million Blu-ray discs in its first month? Or can things be so bad when new shows like Mad Men, Damages, Dexter, and The Tudors are coming out of a cable television environment that has tripled in size in the past 10 years? The answer is a resounding no. Our media and entertainment industry remains vibrant and ripe with opportunity. You just have to look in the right places. In fact, let me say this up front. Television has never been better. The audience has never been bigger, programming has never been more diverse, or distribution more available. And as a result, our industry has never had greater potential for growth. Like many other businesses, we do need to rethink the way we make, market, and distribute our product in a world driven by the powerful twin forces of digitization and globalization. We do need to remain relevant and vital to the new armies of buyers entering the digital marketplace of the 21st century. And most of all, we do need confidence in our ability to connect one of the most exciting products in the market today, television programming, with billions of consumers around the world who are hungrier for content than ever before. But I'm not talking about any dynamic at work here, other than good, old-fashioned change. What we're witnessing are simple commercial rites of passage, the passing of one era that is essential to the birth of another. Old models don't die a sudden death. They simply transition to new ones. For example, you wouldn't have said that the first golden era of television was dead when the live dramas of Playhouse 90 gave way to great scripted series like I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, and The Dick Van Dyke Show. You wouldn't have said that the great variety shows like Ed Sullivan, The Smothers Brothers, and Laugh-In were dead, when in fact they were paving the way for new incubators of popular culture like Saturday Night Live. And we wouldn't have said that Hill Street Blues is dead, when in fact it led the way for NYPD Blue, which in turn opened the door for CSI. Television is a living, breathing, fluid, and dynamic medium. And the passing of old models is a positive development giving rise to the birth of new ones. The emergence of Fox and CW gave breadth to our content and enlarged the broadcast television landscape. Shows like The Sopranos, Sex and the City, Weeds, 6 Feet Under, and John Adams wouldn't have existed without the willingness of the new pay television networks, HBO, Showtime, Starz, and soon our new premium channel, Epix, to create bold, original content. The growth in ratings and market share of branded cable networks like AMC, Bravo, FX, Spike, and VH1 are driving new types of content, additional sources of revenue, and a new paradigm of buyers for our industry. The growth of new international markets and new digital platforms is part of the same evolutionary continuum. Those ingrained in the old ways of doing business fear this transition, but their anxiety misses the dynamic potential for overall growth afforded by new markets, new voices, and new technologies. And in any event, nothing we can do will stop these changes. Their trajectory has been set in place by forces far greater than any of us can alter. The challenge and the responsibility for today's television executive is to harness them in ways that are the most profitable for each of our respective businesses and hopefully for our industry as a whole. I guess that's what it all comes down to, leadership. Call them optimists, pragmatists, realists, even visionaries. The executives who will lead our industry forward have faith in the vitality of our product and the vibrancy of the technology we're harnessing to distribute it. Our conviction is always challenged by the skeptics. I hear a lot lately, broadcast is dead. Well, of course it's dead, but only in the way we used to know it. The old broadcast model of 3 or 4 networks dominating the television landscape 24/7 is as dead as the habit of getting up to change the dial on your television. But broadcast still remains a vital, if less dominant force in today's landscape. And the visionary, the industry leader, recognizes the natural evolution of broadcast networks towards new viewing patterns that better fit today's consumer who wants portable and transportable programming to fit his own schedule. If that visionary is Ben Silverman at NBC, he's already exploring game-changing primetime strategies like moving Jay Leno to 10 o'clock. If he's Jeff Zucker or Peter Chernin, he's starting Hulu for the next generation of TV viewers. Or if he's Les Moonves at CBS, he's teeing up TV.com as a competitor to Hulu. If he's a producer like Mark Burnett, he's continuing to explore the world marketplace for winning formats that can be successfully adapted, and then financing them with a branded integration model critical to the success of shows like The Apprentice. She's a cable executive like Comedy Central's Lauren Correo. She's adapting webisodes like Fremantle's Secret Girlfriend, a hit on AtomicWedgie.com, bucking the usual flow of programming by migrating to and not from a traditional media outlet. Or these visionaries could be like Tyler Perry, an artist and entrepreneur who self-financed 10 episodes of House of Pain on the way to an unheard of 100-episode order. Through the distribution prowess of Debmar Mercury, it's now playing in a dual window of Turner Basic Cable and Fox Station Group-led syndication. Those who adapt best to the changing dynamics of the television landscape will be those who realize there are more television viewers today than ever before, scattered across more viewing platforms, more day parts, and more territories around the world. While the ratings for the individual slices of the pie may have diminished, the slices actually add up to a much bigger pie. And though the broadcast slice of this pie may have lost its dominance, it remains important. Just as I watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan with my parents 30 years ago. Maybe it's been more than 30 years. My entire family watches American Idol and Dancing with the Stars on broadcast together. That hasn't changed. But then afterwards, my 2-year-old turns to Barney on PBS Kids. My 7-year-old son watches SpongeBob on Nickelodeon. My 9-year-old daughter downloads Hannah Montana on her iPod, legally, I might add. And my 16-year-old converses with her friends on Facebook while watching TiVoed episodes of Gossip Girl and One Tree Hill from the CW. My wife turns to a time-shifted Desperate Housewives in streaming HD on ABC.com, while I beg for a few glimpses of ESPN in between everyone else's choices. And for all the fragmentation, time-shifting and play-shifting, more eyeballs got cumed and more impressions were made than ever before, simply over a wider spectrum of choices and devices. The broadcast experience hasn't changed, but the larger context in which we view it has. You'd be hard-pressed to convince NBC that broadcast is dead when this year's Beijing Olympics drew nearly 5 billion viewers worldwide. You'd be equally hard-pressed to convince Fox that broadcast is dead when 15 times a season, American Idol draws over 30 million viewers, numbers that still rival the great television series of all time. And you'd be hard-pressed to convince any of the networks that broadcast is dead when the 2 political conventions this year each drew nearly 40 million viewers. Broadcast is no longer the only game in town, but when it's on its game, nobody does it better. The experts with their charts and graphs also say analog is dead. Well, of course it's dead, but only in the exclusive form we've always known. Its death will be officially proclaimed on the day our television sets turn to digital, February 17th, or June, sometime this year. Once a consumer has seen a sporting event on high-definition television, or enjoyed the interactivity of the online game or social network, it's hard to imagine him ever returning to a solely analog universe. More than half of our children, the next generation of consumers, watch some of their TV online. From Hulu and Crackle to Right TV and 60 frames, online platforms are beginning to reshape the face of our television business to meet consumers' desire for more on-demand entertainment. This isn't an either-or proposition. It's more of a win-win in which television viewing and internet use are complementary because the next generation of consumer revels in his ability to choose and his proficiency at multitasking. And although 1/3 of all internet activity at home takes place while the user is watching television, lending itself to the easy joke that some television is best viewed while distracted. The story these numbers are really telling is that the new digital marketplace offers a world of choice to forward-looking executives as well as consumers. These executives are already looking at innovations to capitalize on digital technology, like Turner Sports and the NBA broadcasting TNT's coverage of the All-Star Game in live 3D next month. They're already looking at ways in which online social networking can drive viewership through innovative concepts like the Widget Channel, recently announced by MySpace, Yahoo, and Intel. They're looking at partnerships like CNN and Facebook, teaming up for last week's presidential inauguration, allowing 14 million viewers to communicate on Facebook while watching the event in streaming video. There is a natural, methodical order in this progression from analog to digital, and the two will cohabit the marketplace, however uneasily, for many years. But this new partnership will provide fresh opportunities for those astute enough to seize them. Now, it may be difficult for some of you to think about opportunity in the worst economy since the Great Depression. But let's all reflect for a moment on our trip to Las Vegas this week. Yes, hotel occupancy is down, and so are profits. But some of the best shows in town, like Bette Midler, Zumanity, and the original Cirque du Soleil, are still sold out. I'm making a point beyond the obvious one that commerce continues and the show will go on. Consumers are still spending, but like each of us, they're rationing their dollars a little more carefully. Like each of us, they're becoming a little more selective in their purchases. And like each of us, they're exercising the most awesome and dreaded weapon in their arsenal, the power of choice. They're wielding it not like a club, but like a laser to target the best, the most familiar, the most recognizable, and the most appropriate to their lifestyle, taste, and peer group. Now think about that for a moment, because it has profound implications for what is produced for, delivered to, and consumed by the world marketplace. The message is clear. A bad economy is the best critic on the planet. Call it premium, premier, or branded content. The winners in today's marketplace will be the shows that cut through the clutter by being different from the rest. Recognizable, identifiable, relatable, and above all, renewable. The Sopranos, Sex and the City, and Weeds will always have a place on our TV sets and PCs, in good times and bad. The Simpsons, American Idol, and The Hills will always find a home on our kids' iPods. Law and Order, Mad Men, and South Park will capture the popular zeitgeist from whatever media platform they're shown. So then, what won't work? It's the big soggy star vehicle with no discernible storyline. The cynical knockoffs and remakes of the great idea done better before. Or the sitcom, written by a team of market researchers and designed for whatever audience doesn't have anything more productive to do with its time. Because I have a secret to share with you. Today's audience always has something better to do with its time. In the 80s, I worked for an independent New World, and then for the next decade, I worked for Sony. And I can tell you, I got paid a lot more at Sony. But that was a business era when size mattered. It belonged to the global media conglomerates and their truly unparalleled ability to aggregate eyeballs with destination programming propelled by powerhouse marketing. Today, these conglomerates are, by their own admission, searching for ways to remain relevant in a world of fragmented audiences, market niches, and declining ad revenues. And while these conglomerates look for their own new models to re-energize themselves, the future must be shared with others. Smaller, nimbler, more entrepreneurial companies structured to profit from smaller audiences, able to perform and succeed on a smaller scale. Size still matters, but in today's digital marketplace, the winners will also be those who master the art of thinking small in order to unlock profitable market niches. The winners will include those who have the greatest vision in planning for a time-shifted universe and who can profitably exploit this growing pie of anytime viewers by recognizing that it's the consumer making all of the appointments in the new version of appointment television. The ubiquity and transportability of content in the digital world is also eroding national and cultural boundaries almost as seamlessly as it's eliminating the barriers between the television set, the computer, and the handheld device. Billions of dollars are being spent around the world creating satellite, digital, and mobile platforms to reach new and expanding audiences. The promise of creating television shows that appeal to international audiences has never been greater, and opportunities to exploit the best product from around the world here in America have never been more plentiful. The winners in the global marketplace of the future may be those companies that master the business of replicating formats for consumption in local territories around the world, as we're doing with Paris Hilton's new MTV series from Ish Entertainment. Our unique twist on format sales in this case is that Paris is launching the format in a number of territories by starring in several of the first season episodes. Or the winners may be those companies astute enough to keep track of and adapt the best local content produced around the world. We've seen new shows emerge from relatively small territories like ABC's hit series Ugly Betty, based on Colombia's popular telenovela Yo Soy Betty La Fea, which has opened the door to a whole new wave of shows based on international formats like Israel's own Betty Pool, in treatment to all of you, Secret Millionaire, Life on Mars, Kath and Kim, The X-List, and Absolutely Fabulous. However, there is one fundamental constant that no level of digital sophistication and no scale of international growth will ever change. If we remember that our job is simply to engage the voice of the artist with the mind of the consumer, no more, no less, we are less likely to go astray. It's hardly a leap of faith to have confidence that television programming, one of the greatest products in the world today, propelled by an expanding array of traditional broadband and mobile platforms, harnessing the power of new digital technologies connected to a growing audience of billions of consumers, can be a successful and profitable enterprise for those who approach it with boldness and vision. Our content is like no other. Unlike oil and gas, which have finite reserves, or electronic goods, which start aging the moment they appear on the store shelf, entertainment is a rare, renewable resource. The better it is, the more vitality it has with each passing year. A 10-year-old TV show is not the same as a 10-year-old TV set. Episodes of I Love Lucy, The Wonder Years, and Seinfeld are as capable of generating fresh revenues 20 years after they were made as the day they were first created. The very best shows don't age. They have no half-life of predictable declining value. Instead, their value is re-energized every time they're touched by the spark of a new market, technology, or platform. Take the TV to DVD market, a $3.5 billion industry that didn't exist a few years ago. Or the more than 2 million downloads of Weeds and Mad Men in the past year alone. Packaged media and digital sales are not only huge financial contributors to these shows, but significantly enhance their cross-promotional opportunities and exposure to new audiences. For example, 2 years after it premiered, I was introduced to Entourage by watching the first 12 hours of DVDs on my laptop during a flight home from Italy. And now today, Entourage is appointment television in my house. That's right, combine the timeless evergreen value of this renewable resource with the immediacy of an impulse buy, and you've got an unbeatable 1-2 combination of the most powerful consumer sentiments on the planet. Look at our Dirty Dancing franchise. It's remarkable enough that this simple story set in the Catskills of the 60s still sells nearly 1 million DVDs each year. This single piece of entertainment has now been seen by more than 50 million moviegoers in 150 countries, has sold 30 million DVDs, a combined 32 million soundtrack CDs, launched a stage play 20 years after its initial release, selling out theaters in 7 cities in 6 countries, spanning 4 continents, totaling 3,800 shows, more than 4 million theatergoers, and is one of the most popular clips on YouTube, where it has generated 430,000 separate pieces of content, garnering a total of 20 million separate views. I think you get my point. Nobody puts Baby in a corner. But Baby has put herself in every corner of the world marketplace, and every nook, cranny, portal, platform, and skew of the media landscape. Because of its unique properties, television content has tremendous appeal not only as a product, but as an investment. The late Walter Wriston, the legendary chairman of Citicorp, who would be rolling over in his grave if he could see what was going on right now, once said, "Capital flows where it's treated well." And I say there is no place that capital will be treated better than invested in television programming at its best. And best is no longer the exclusive province of the enduringly popular series on the broadcast networks, or the must-see critical darlings on HBO and Showtime. The best television can also be found in the greatest gardeners of the Garden Channel. the most exciting battles of the History Channel, the best bargains on Home Shopping Network, the coolest takedowns on Animal Planet, the best interactive games from the Game Show Network, and the best sushi recipes from the Food Network. Laugh if you want, but Storm Stories on the Weather Channel has attracted millions of loyal viewers, and the channel was recently sold for $3.5 billion. Not only am I unpersuaded by those who predict the decline of our industry, but I believe that we're poised on the cusp of the next golden age of television. It will be driven by growing demand from audiences worldwide, an ever-expanding spectrum of current and potential buyers, nascent and emerging markets, new and improved technologies. It won't only be measured by the number of television sets in use. Instead, it will be determined by a far more complex calculus of iPods, Blackberries, PCs, PDAs, and other mobile and multi-purpose electronic devices that are becoming the new nerve centers of the digital marketplace. This golden age of television won't be dependent on nostalgia for the popular shows of the past, comfort with the business models of a generation ago, or corporate cultures renowned only for their size rather than their speed. It will be defined not only by the quality of the programming we deliver, but also the breadth of our reach, the extent of our penetration, and the number of lives we're able to touch. And it will be driven by the leadership of every executive in this room today. The leadership needed to grow our industry out of the current recession, realize its international potential, and capitalize on its technological promise. And this will be a golden age rich with opportunity because we have the boldness and vision to be the architects rather than the victims of change. I know we do, I know we can, and I know we will. Or, as my 2.5-year-old would say, quoting the great sage, Bob the Builder, can we build it? Yes, we can. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Peter Kruger. Peter? Thank you.
Hello. Good to see you there. That was a terrific talk, John. It's always a delight to be with you, and it's a hard act to follow. And being the moderator for questions, I'm going to ask the group to think of some questions that would inspire the rest of you and that you're really curious about. In a couple of moments, step to the microphone, state your professional name, and ready, aim, and fire in that order. It's interesting, John, because you talked about curiosity and passion. And Freeman Dyson, Nobel laureate from Princeton, said that's the key to really success, to not exert your superiority over the question of the questionnaire, but instead of answering the question, just answering the question, ask, what is that question telling me? And I've always, in working with you and being around you, watched your curiosity about that. You pondered, you thought, you didn't just immediately respond. And when I wrote in some questions to ask you, unfortunately, you, in your speech, answered most of them before I had a chance to ask.
So I guess we're done.
Good. But a couple to start, to prime the pump, and then ask everybody who wants to step to the microphone. U.S. used to be at the top of the food chain creatively. You know, all the formats, all the programs we made were formatted and sent around the world. We see so much television now being imported from formats overseas. Has the creative clients, the creative forces, lost their energy in America, lost their way?
God, I hope not. I hope not. I think, when you, again, look at executives like Kevin Beggs, and, great creators, Tyler Perry, who could be more creative. And by the way, I don't know how many of you were there last night. It was a wonderful evening, Rick, a really fantastic show. But I can tell you that Tyler's version of the story of his script at CBS, I'm sure is the right version, because I can guarantee you he has never taken a note from me. I think, that was a pretty good joke. They don't all play. What's that? perhaps the most creative place on the planet. But I think that what's great about what's starting to happen is that we're open to things that are going on all around the world, and that we understand that we are a small part of the world audience. And I had a lot of fun at Sony. We did programming in I think 8 or 9 different languages, and I think we're going to remain an unbelievably productive and creative country. But again, I think it's great that we're open and flexible and understanding of what's going on around the world, and we can take formats and adapt them, accordingly.
On another subject, you're a public company, and the pressure of quarter-to-quarter earnings, advance notices, they make people risk averse. It really dampens innovation. What do you do to balance those two energies, the energy to perform for your shareholders and the media who reports it, and the idea that taking risk and really looking past that quarter is the only way to really be nimble and smart?
We're actually really fortunate. We have about 30 very significant shareholders, really great investment companies, and almost all of them have been with us long-term. I think they're all long-term thinkers. Fortunately for us, they're mostly companies that haven't had lots of redemptions lately. It's a hard thing to do for any public company, but I think for all of us, if you think long-term, then I think that's the only way you can really build value for a company, for your investors.
So you're talking about building and buying value. You just bought the TV Guide channel and tvguide.com, part of it. How do you plan to integrate or utilize that and do it, considering that the roll-up is going to disappear in 2 or 3 years from all of the carriers?
Well, that's been part of it. We spent about $430 million over the last 2 or 3 years buying a number of companies trying to expand our business. I think clearly we touch so much content that the idea of expanding into on-demand, FearNet, Break.com, as well as Epix, which we're announcing the name today, but I guess I already did, and now tvguide.com is part of the same evolution of our company, from just creating lots of content to being able to own the platform that it's on, multiple platforms. We expect to expand around the world as well. We're going to start 2 new channels in Asia. We're looking at a number of other opportunities as well. So I think it's, again, part of the same kind of evolutionary continuum of our business.
Well, with evolution, is that going to take the mini major and aim it to become a major major? In other words, is the nimbleness of the mini major, working your way up the food chain, going to be subsumed into becoming the incumbent? Are you going to forgive yourself and move away from the challenger status to the incumbent status? Whether it's buying MGM, which has been rumored, or other kinds of acquisitions that might make that exponential leap for you?
Well, I did say size still matters. So, I think that we hopefully will remain nimble and entrepreneurial while we grow, but we can't stop growing. What I do hope is that we've been very focused on, in our feature film business, and our television business, and trying to find the branded audiences, the niche audiences that perhaps were underserved. No better example than Tyler Perry, who, it's incredible that there is no piece of product that Tyler can touch that doesn't speak to his audience, and that audience is getting bigger and bigger when people realize all of the amazing things that he's doing. And so finding more branded audiences, dealing with the cable networks as opposed mostly to the broadcasters, has been our way of kind of looking at where the business is going a little bit, and looking at where we could win as opposed to perhaps where the major studios could win. But it's pretty obvious, isn't it, that that's how people are watching entertainment these days. They're not, again, we're not all watching together with our families, like we used to. Some shows we do, but mostly people are watching in these large niche audiences. And so I think if we can maintain, as we grow, the idea that we're being a little more focused, a little, pinpoint more of those large niche audiences, deal with the buyers who really understand those brands and reach that audience, I think we can remain flexible and entrepreneurial while we grow.
One last question for me. You built your company really with state-of-the-art technology as much as state-of-the-art technology. You hired really interesting people. What's the secret sauce when an executive comes to you, potential executive comes to you, or you're looking for them, an important one? What is the element that is most paramount in your mind that you look at when you talk with them, when you speak with them, as a possible incumbent in your team?
Character, personality, the willingness to argue with me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, and not be scared. The willingness to take risks, that's one of them. But the willingness to take risk and be entrepreneurial and try to think outside of the box. That's an oft-used expression. I actually took it out of my speech because it's used so much, but really the truth is, what greater quality could anybody have than thinking of innovative and different ways to approach anything, the creation of content, the running of a business, almost anything.
Good, all right.
Hello, John, thank you. My name is Ray Garza with Las Vegas Studios.
All right.
You spoke a couple of times, several times on Tyler Perry. In the past, TV shows like Desi Arnaz's and Lucille Ball's I Love Lucy, Chico the Man, Tony Orlando and Dawn, George Lopez, Ugly Betty. The Hispanic market back then was proving to have ratings. Even more so now with the market being 40 million plus in the market, $1 trillion purchasing power per year. Not to mention that you get hundreds of millions of Latins all over the world. Is it possible, I'm going to just be selfish and asking you this, to schedule a meeting with you to show you that we've got content for film and for television regarding the Hispanic market, because the Hispanic market is the largest minority now, and there's a missed opportunity, especially if you have great content. So if I could get maybe who the AD is with you, or with you personally, I'd love to talk to you.
I don't think you'd respect me, Ray, if I made it too easy for you, but I appreciate, again, your risk-taking, and so...
Amen.
Call Heather.
Thank you so much, guys.
I used to own the Gong Show. We would have gonged you halfway through that. Questions, not speeches. Next.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Sherman I'm here with the International Documentary Association. Run a company called Dreamcatcher Productions, but 2 questions for you. When you were a kid, what did you dream about growing up to be?
I was either going to be a baseball player or a rock and roll recording artist.
Like a baseball player thing. Second question is, if I could grant that wish, would you take it today?
No, because I got a bad wing, and I got the recording thing out of my head. So, thank you.
But he's still a kid, and that's what really compels him. He has the passion of a kid, and the curiosity of a kid, and the wonderment of a kid. And all the years that I worked with John, saw John, and had him as a friend, that was one of the most marvelous traits, John. It was you had a joy that a kid has, and I think you see things through that youthful eyes, as if for the first time. Not, oh, it's this, it's that. Look at things that way, and I think that's part of your success.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Terry Wolf from Vancouver, BC.
Hi, Terry.
Well,
Still got a mailbox there.
yes, I understand you moved out of town. I have practiced law for 40 years. I'm now, I made a feature film last year, and I have in my hand a script. So some pages. Now I don't want to storm this, but I would like some advice for people here in the audience who are in the same position as I. How do you get to people like you to look at a script?
Well, here's how Tyler Perry did it. He came in and said, I'll pay for half myself. So, same answer. Heather, talk to Heather.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hey, listen, is there anyone who has a question that doesn't have anything to do with self-interest? I'm just curious.
It's funny what you just said, because it led right into what I was curious about was, by the way, thank you for a great introduction to NATPE for myself. It's my first visit.
You're very welcome.
The new model you're speaking of, and you said Tyler Perry offered to pay half down. That's kind of the model I came in here with no knowledge of this change that's going on. So I'm very relieved at the first meeting that I've been to. Self-finance, is that reducing the quality of some of the programming that's being put on television today because they're offering that?
You say self-financing, you mean all the money available from slate deals and all of those kinds of things?
They come in offering to, are the networks more apt to pick up shows that have some finance built in versus maybe a project that doesn't?
You know, I'd like to think that the quality of programming is what's going to dictate what gets on any network, online, wherever it is. But of course, there's financial reality. So if it's a good show that's on the fence and you come in with financing, yeah, I think that would be helpful. So,
Great.
yeah,
So
sure.
I think I have a great show, but if it's just a good one and I have self-finance, I'm in good shape.
Something like that.
Thank you.
Thank
You ever hear somebody say, yeah, I went to watch CBS, I heard the film came in on budget?
I'm Daryl Mike, and I'm an independent writer-producer from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And my question has to do with this the concept of pilots, features, programming for television, creating international co-partnerships in this in the market that we're in. That I hear the voice speaking to taking risk. I hear the corporations saying take risk. But is that a trickle down that is sitting in the pitch offices? Because it seems like that the old model is still the one that's existing because of the scare of what's happening financially. So I guess the question that I'm asking is, when you're creating new content as an independent producer, rather, creating partnerships for television, is the model of the pilot still in place to lead, or do you think, as somebody that's leading the networks for many years, that we're now pitching a different format to go right into series? Do we have to do feature? I mean, I'm finding all of these possibilities exist.
Yes.
Be nice.
I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, the question...
But if I get the essence of it, I honestly think that the world has changed. I think it's very obvious. I think it's obvious when you look at what's being created for the web. I think it's obvious when you look at what's being created for cable television, branded networks. I think it's changed when you look at what's going on with the networks. And I think that change has come because the way of creating those shows is every way. Every way. It's through the pilot process. It's direct. We've had some series that have gone straight to, Crash went straight to air without a pilot. I mean, so everything is different. And I think the key thing, again, is for the buyers to remain open-minded and for the sellers to remain creative. I think that's the bottom line, and then anything can happen.
Without a pilot, the damn film won the Oscar. What was that?
Good point.
Thank you.
I'm Edward Welch from Grambling State University. Fine. I'm wondering how much freedom do you feel you have when you pitch a program or go into China like you said you were going to do? My question is based on the fact that when Google wanted to go into China, they had to get rid of that image we saw of a person facing down a tank. So I'm wondering how much freedom do you have with your programming ideas?
Well, every country is different. China's obviously a very difficult market, although I think they're finally coming up with a rating system, which I think is kind of neat. And I think it'll ultimately be an incredible market. But every market is different. I've created a lot of programming in China and India and all over the Asian region, and we've had a lot of success doing it. But there's different government regulations and different kinds of monopolies in every territory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Giesbrecht. I'm also down from Vancouver, Canada. Just wondering, every time I come to these, and I've spoken with other people as well, we all hear the same thing every time, looking for fresh new ideas. Is this just something that all of you folks are saying, or how do we get to the people that aren't too scared to take a risk?
Well, it's really hard. It really is hard. I mean, and for a good reason, in a sense that I always tell everybody, one of my executives know, I said, you never know where the next great hit's going to come from. The problem is, of course, that a lot of people have earned their access. And that's fair, isn't it, when you think about it? I mean, people that have been in this room here have been in the business for 10, 15, 20 more years. They've earned the access. They've succeeded. They've delivered. They have credibility. So while it would be great if we could hear every idea, the fact of the matter is there is a filtering process, sometimes effective, sometimes not that effective. So I've got no easy answer for you.
Can I call Heather later as well?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Hey, sorry, Heather.
Heather, you are.
Poor Heather.
So my name is Christopher Allen. I'm an independent development producer. I'm also an iPhone consultant. You mentioned 2.5 million downloads of Weeds and Mad Men. How do you see 5 years from now the market will change, where the revenues come from? Right now we're predominantly advertising revenues is what's feeding the entire system. How much do you think it'll become more of a direct consumer pay in the form of things like iTunes downloads, DVDs, things where consumers pay for individual products?
Yeah, we're super excited about every form of digital technology progressing. And you know, as a smaller company, the idea that you have more access to the consumer, more direct access through digital distribution is really exciting. And yes, of course, there's piracy, there's shrinkage in every business, but we're really, you know, excited about that. On the other hand, I will quote, probably Peter knows this name, Alvin Toffler, who talks about high tech, high touch, meaning that as technology becomes more and more sophisticated, people still crave the interaction, the human interaction, the touch of things. And I think that's never going to change the experience of, you know, the communal experience of going to the movies together. I don't think it's going to change the desire to own something you can feel like a DVD. I don't think it's going to change whether we all keep coming to NATPE to see each other as opposed to doing this all in one huge video conference. So I think the progression of technology is fantastic, but I don't think it's a replacement technology. I think it's a complementary technology. Thank you.
But what do you think, John, you know, with the pervasiveness of digital format and the idea that we've seen what happened in the music business, completely melt down through piracy. It habituated the young audience to free, and the web is a free modality. Do you think that it could come under the knife, that television and movies could come under the knife of that faster downloads?
I don't. I think the music business wasn't ready for it. Their files were smaller. They weren't ready for it. I think we've seen that. I mean, it's really not happening. And I think again, I think sometimes what's going on with digital is it's not only not a replacement, but that people will download something, they'll download it to their mobile device, they'll watch it on their computer, and they're promoting their own product. They're paying to promote their own product. They then will go out and buy the DVD. Clearly, the box office has been fantastic last month, and again, I think that, you know, that's going to keep going on. Now, it is kind of interesting. I think clearly we have to play with, given both piracy and what you're talking about, I think that we do have to play with different windows and different pricing models. For example, we had a number of titles out on, obviously, Apple, amongst others. That's certainly the granddaddy of the market leader right now. And we were selling them for $10, as most people do for their library titles. And Apple came to us and said, let's do a big promotion. We'd like to lower the price, and we'll promote it like crazy. And so there were about 5 titles that we had up in a package, and the week before we did this promotion, we sold 190 downloads. And when we lowered the price and we did a promotion, that very next week, we sold 18,000. Same product, nothing new, just promoted, perhaps properly priced, or at least properly priced as a promotion. And you know, what that said to me is there's an incredibly elastic consumer out there that's looking for value, that does pay attention when you promote to them. So I think clearly we're going to have to play with different kinds of models and pricing and windows to make it work. But no, I think, again, it's quite complementary. And really, it's the margins obviously cost way down, infinite shelf space, if you will, the long tail. So I think it's an incredibly exciting development in our business.
Hi, my name is Altura Yours from Media Theaters in Berlin, Germany. I just recently returned to Germany after 12 years in Silicon Valley from the computer security side, and this is my first NATPE my first introduction to the media business. And I'd like to kind of find out how the media industry wants to be innovative. Like in Silicon Valley, it's a venture model. You have lots of foreign kids come to Silicon Valley, and there's this infrastructure there that promotes innovation and to destroy the old and create the new. How does the media business, how do they expect to be innovative? I mean, what are some of the new ways they pretend to be, they want to be innovative? Was the question clear?
Yeah. I want to say yes again. I think it's all the ways that we've been talking about. The investors that are coming into our business or continuing our business are looking at every kind of model. They're doing slate financing deals that are different every time out. We learn every time we do anything. I think that's the great thing about our business. It's, we learn, and there'll be like copycats of Slumdog Millionaire, for example. I've already heard now 7 pitches. This is Slumdog Millionaire. This is Slumdog Millionaire. But the fact is, what's great about our business, from the finance side to the content side to the distribution side, I honestly think that we learn every time we do something. I think that's great. It's another great quality of a good executive, isn't it? To admit your mistake, to grow from your mistakes. And I think that's what our business is doing. So I think the models are changing every day. Every day I see something unique. And the only time I'm irritated is when somebody else has done it first.
Okay, excellent. And one last question, and it's